Welcome, investors, to OrangeUglad Glass and Surface Cleaner. The story begins in 1995 when my son was born, and I was working as a professional cleaner. I spent most of my days elbow deep in one cleaning chemical or another, and that began my process over 25 years of trying to create a cleaning product that cleaned effectively, disinfects, removes grease, is streak free, it doesn't smell terrible in one way or another, but is completely non-toxic. And so I want to share with you today our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or a SWOT analysis for OrangeUglad Glass and Surface Cleaner. Now this takes a look. First, we'll start with our strengths and weaknesses. Strengths, we have many. First, we have we have a good product that's non-toxic, antibacterial, that's easy to create and use. The second is strong leadership. The first owner is an MBA candidate. The second owner has her MBA, has her green belt in Lean Six Sigma production, has a certified associates in project management, and has a certification in change management as well. These certifications allow us to navigate the world of business today. The third strength we have is a simple manufacturing process. Very few ingredients are needed, and it takes very little time to put it together. And as we'll produce this product on a needs basis only, as ordered, we should be able to keep our costs very low. The third strength that we have is an access to a pool of capital that is available for us if we grow faster than we expect to grow. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our weaknesses. The first weakness is a very small production space. There's only so far we can grow in our current space, which is the garage, because it's a startup. The second weakness that we have is a lack of working capital, which is where you come in with your investment and allow us to have working capital over the course. Now the rest of our presentation, we'll look at the numbers as if we have no investment, and so you'll get to see how that looks. Next, we'll take a look at our opportunities and threats. The opportunities that we have start with the consumer. The consumers are getting more and concerned about air and water pollution, with over 60% of Americans. And those same people are looking for companies with environmental product or message that they can spend their money with. Next, average American spends 22 hours a day indoors with all the common indoor air pollutants. And there's a huge amount of economic loss that occurs when it comes to health effects and allergies due to that exposure. And lastly, the market for cleaning products expect to grow $14 billion in the next 5 years from $31.2 billion. But now let's go ahead and take a look at threats. Because that market's going to be expanding so fast, we do expect to see increased competition and to see that be pretty intense. Secondary to that, for threats, there are the economic risk, whether it's the trade war in China or we're talking about a recession here in the U.S. But some economic risks do provide opportunities. As you can see today with the coronavirus, a cleaning product would be a very good product to be an owner of. And as we move forward in society, we can expect to see other coronaviruses. Now let's do a product cost analysis so that we can know how much it costs to produce the product. We use an activity base of units sold to begin, and we break it down into fixed costs and variable costs. We have very few fixed costs. Right now, that is just space rent. That is our only fixed cost at this time. Everything else is a variable cost. Utilities go up based upon our units produced. Everything else goes up that way as well. Now you can look at this chart, and as you see with it, eventually the product cost per unit is just $3.64 per unit. And since we're going to be charging $4.99 per unit, we're talking about $1.59 of a contribution margin for each bottle sold. So in order to do this, we determined our cost method. Now our cost method is how we are going to do the books. And we've decided that our best is the process costing cost method, because it is a process in which we take raw materials and make it into something else. So it's a two-stage process. Our first stage will take these raw materials, and the second one will inspect the bottles, put it in there, make the labeling, and do all that. And they will build all of the product to order, which brings us to our marketing plan. So the marketing plan is based upon my experience working with youth for the last 20 years, in which I know that many of them have been not taught many of the basic skills of life. And they're also very likely to go to YouTube to watch tutorial videos on whatever it is they want to learn. So that's our first, is I'm going to create tutorial videos on how to clean, and we're going to include links at the bottom of the videos for each video. So for instance, I can teach people how to properly clean a toilet, and we'll then reference the link, and we'll have a variety of those videos about cleaning different places in your home, your office, your car, all that stuff, in which people can then buy on demand, and we can produce on demand. Which will bring us to our second stage of our marketing phase, which is right now would start at a local level, where we contact professional companies so that those professional cleaning companies could use bulk and concentrates to use these natural cleaning products in the wider environment, so that we can actually help the other professional cleaners not spend their days elbow deep in a variety of chemicals. So let's go ahead and take a look at the money. We've made a few assumptions when it comes to the money. We're going to be producing 100 bottles a month. We expect to see an 8% growth over a time frame. We don't expect any seasonal fluctuations, and we're starting with initial $1,000 in cash. So first of all, we want to take a look at our projected revenue growth. So if we're talking 100 bottles a month to start, we can see that by the end of the 3 years, we've generated over $20,000 of revenue. Now, in order to do our return on investment, we were going to take a growth over 3 years. So it's just modest growth over 3 years. But you can see here that our net income is negative, but still trending upwards towards the positive. So over there you can see that here's another way to see it: 4.9% in the first year, negative 1.7% in the second year, negative 0.22%. So you can see that that trend is also going up. So in order to help us understand the numbers, we wanted to use the DuPont identity, made famous by the company that produced the DuPont, and uses a variety of ratios to find the return on assets and the return on equity. First, it uses a profit margin. Second, it will then use the asset turnover rate. And third, it will find the equity multiplier. So let's first take a look at profit margin, in which revenue is divided by net income. And for that first profit margin, you see in the first year it's negative 2.8%, the second year is negative 0.86%, and the third year is negative 0.094. Again, another indicator of our strong climbing upward sales. So if we take a look at our asset turnover rate, the higher the number, the better. So what this number means at 1.7, 1.75, and 2.0 is that for every dollar we spend, we generate $1.70, $1.75, 2.1, $2.01. So as you can see, that too is trending upward. So our return on assets again reinforces this idea. We start with a negative 0.5% in year one, a negative 1.5% in year two, and a 19% in year three. So you can see this is our first positive number here in our return on assets, and quite a large dip. This is because we've run out of cash in this second year due to the first initial $1,000, and after that we're beginning to run on our owed money. So the last number we need to find for their equity is the equity multiplier. So our equity multiplier is the total assets divided by the owner's equity. And here we can see it's 4.03, negative 229.34, and a negative 32.83. Now these initially look terrible, but what you need to know is that the lower the number, the better. And what this shows is that this company is running completely on equity. So our return on equity again shows the same thing, and you can also see the reflection again of the run out of cash. Here we're seeing a return on equity of 44% because this is where we start to run. And here's where we begin to run efficiently, and we know that this is where we're going forward in growth is at 6.2%. So in conclusion, although we do not generally profit with this initial $1,000 in cash in the first 3 years, all of the trending signs point upward at a very measly 100 bottles of product per month. So today, if for a $10,000 investment, it'll get you 2% of the company and buy your way into the $31.2 billion cleaning product market. So get your piece today. Thank you.